and to build and maintain a positive relationship with the community. WBIS LP 106.9 FM, Winterville, Ayden, Grifton, Southside, Greenville, North Carolina. Outside the listening area, tune in on WBISAwesomeRadio.org.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Police Report. Once again, we are delighted to be here with you, and it is an awesome day. It's always awesome here at Awesome Radio. What do you think, Dr. Johnson?
It's always awesome. And if Awesome Radio is not on your radio just isn't on.
Wow. Well, I'll do a little bit of housekeeping here. We got some special guests here today, and we're about to give you some. I'm putting my hand all in front of my face, like saying hello. Well, hello, social media. It's the first time. I don't normally talk with my hands. What happened there? I must want to punch Glenn for something. I don't know.
Can you do me a favor?
What's that?
Put your hands back in front of your face.
So you know that it's you're a mess, man. I got one coming up though. That's one for you. That's one for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you can listen to the show by downloading the app at the App Store. And you can, obviously go to Alexa if you have an Apple product. Go to the App Store, and you could be talking to Alexa, play Awesome Radio. Today, if you want to participate in the show, you can dial the magic number 252-756-2000. I think that's 8.
2008.
Yes, indeed. You can call in. We on the second part of the show, we're gonna raise a little bit of fire because we're gonna talk a little bit about the FBI, their first responders. Indeed. So we're gonna raise some heat on the second part of the show, and I might need some input from the audience. That's our objective to air it out on the table to bring up the issues that matter. But we're going to, strike some lightning and thunder at the beginning of the show because we got a very special guest representing the state of North Carolina CIT program.
Absolutely.
Lastly, on the housekeeping part, anywhere in the world, you can go to the website, www.awesomeradio.org. You can go there. You can find the media player and click on that media player, and you can listen while you're online to the show. So no doubts. One more thing we're going to talk about today. We're going to save you some heartache. We're actually going to serve and protect from the show today, Dr. Johnson. We have one of Pitt Community College's finest students. I consider him one of the finest students here today to talk about cybersecurity, to talk about that password, that one key that can unlock your whole life, and that if it was violated, could change your whole life. It could drain your bank account. It could, take your identity and make purchases. I'm gonna tell you who was trying to get into my bank account. The bank told me, and I'm gonna update you on that. That's my area of intervention. I was almost a victim of identity theft or financial fraud. So. And they got some weird ways to do it. So we're going to be talking with Mr. Muhammad later on. He's locked and loaded, ready to go. And at the beginning of the show, I do want to, I got a public announcement to make. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to talk about it a little later because we got a guest. We want to get him in. We want to get him in his groove. But Greenville Police Department, you're supposed to dress before the show, Johnson.
I'm just trying to push my button.
You got anything else on besides a shirt?
No.
Oh, man.
But
this half thing doesn't mean we're virtual. Please dress.
I know, but before you continue, can I tell you something that you probably never heard before? Here's your salad, sir.
Greenville Police Department was awarded Police Department of the Year, and no doubt it's all because of me and you, Johnson.
That's right. I heard about that.
We've been running the whole show right from this show.
Yeah.
Get it? We've been running the show right from this show, and the chief has been doing everything that we said to do. All of our recommendations, all our gripes and complaints helped shape the Greenville Police Department.
And they have an acting police chief now since Chief Holtzman retired.
I don't think that's an acting position. If you go ask him, he said, "Nah, this for real."
Acting. I know it's for real.
For him, it's for real, for real.
Yeah, it's a temporary or until they actually physically or what's the word I'm looking for? Until they actually appoint him chief but he's acting chief.
Yes, we have the article where they made the official announcement. So if you haven't heard, we'll talk about that a little bit later on the show. That's on the housekeeping, ladies and gentlemen, let's get down to business. We have Mr. Brian Lassiter, and Glenn, you've done some excellent research. You have persuaded, paid, or lied to, or captured people to be on the show. However, you got them up here, Mr. Brian Lassiter. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us about you, your credentials, and your organization, please, sir.
Absolutely. Let me turn this my email off so it doesn't keep interrupting us. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Great. It's good to be here. Like Coach said, my name is Brian Lassiter, and I am a CIT coordinator for Trillium Health Resources, which is based right there in Greenville and in Ahoskie and Wilmington. And we have some other areas that have some smaller offices, but we cover 28 counties, Eastern North Carolina, and we provide service. We don't provide any services. We link people to services. But one of the things that we do is CIT, and I'm sure everybody wants to know what that stands for, and it is Crisis Intervention Team. And so we train first responders in how to answer calls for people that may have mental health issues, IDD issues, or substance abuse issues. And but a little bit about my background. I'm a former law enforcement officer with the Ahoskie Police Department, the Kill Devil Hills Police Department, the Chowan College, now Chowan University Police Department, and with the District 6 District Attorney's Office as an investigator over there. And I've been with Trillium now for almost 3 years, and doing this training along with 2 others. I do the northern portion currently, and then we have someone who does the central region, and then someone who does our southern region out of the Wilmington office. But we offer some other things as well. We do the CIT training for police, for our Department of Corrections or Department of Public Safety Corrections. They changed their title a couple of years back. We do our detention officers. We do our fire and EMS, and we even do telecommunicators. But we also provide some classes to citizens. So we provide QPR, which is it's question, persuade, and refer. So many acronyms to remember, but QPR is question, persuade, and refer. That's a class, hour and a half class for suicide prevention, the things to look for and listen for, and then know how to ask the question and persuade someone to get some help, and then to have references or resources available for them as well. And we also offer youth and adult mental health first aid. That's a little bit longer class. That's we can do that fully in person in 8 hours. We can do it virtual, and then part of it in person, and they're about 4 hours each. And so we offer quite a few classes that not only help the first responders, but also our community as well. We're all about getting people the help that they need.
I want to go right into it, Dr. Johnson and Mr. Brian Lassiter. I recall going through criminal justice 2-year program, and I was told my instructor was a former military officer, Quantico, Virginia, blah, 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 great credentials, great instructor. I was told that if you come upon a scene and a person is acting out of character, they're intoxicated on some type of substance or have mental issues, and you chase them or you engage in a lot of activity while they are in that heightened sense, and you put them on their chest and you hog tie them. I'm just using the term that was used then, and you hog tie them. There is nothing like the voice. There is nothing like the note of "I can't breathe." And if you hear that amidst the fussle, hustle, and bustle and the fighting, then you get off of them methodically, and you roll them over, and you don't do that. Why was that enough? Why wasn't that enough CIT training for officers in the 90s? How did that get lost in the training? And what do you do now? You got to say almost the same thing I just said. There's nothing that sounds like I can't breathe. And there's, people don't say that just for nothing. So help us out. Let's go to work. Tell us how you train officers in that area.
Okay, so just to let you know, CIT training came out of Memphis, Tennessee, back in the late '80s. It kind of got rolling in '87. Had some foundation in '88, and then it kind of spread across the country from that point. It really got to North Carolina around 2005, and then when it comes to a state, it goes to the bigger cities first, and then it takes a while for it to get out into other areas. So it's only really been kind of a thing in North Carolina since 2005. And so what we do is we don't train anything physical. We're all using our brain and our heart and our gut. And so we have lots of presentations, but one of the things that we present on is building rapport with people. You have to build that trust. You have to have some influence over the person. And I don't mean influence as in, let me give you some advice. It's some influence in that we treat people like human beings, not like the crisis that they're in, because we want them to treat us like human beings, not the uniform that we're in. So when we go out there, that's one of the first things we do is we train them to build rapport with people. Just talk to them about them being a person, not them being a person that's in crisis. Secondly, and not that these are in any certain order, just the order that I'm coming up with them, we talk about empathy. We've got to be able to address the emotions that a person's having, let them know that we see, hear, or feel those emotions, and talk to them about that, and ultimately get to the root cause of the problem. Maybe it is substance abuse. Maybe it is a mental illness. Maybe it is someone who has that lives with an intellectual developmental disability like autism or cerebral palsy or any of the number of others. And they just have maybe wandered away from their home, gotten separated from a parent or a caregiver. And so we just really need to link them back to the people that care for them. So we have to find that root cause. And the way we do that, we build the rapport. We let them know that we see, hear, and feel the emotions that they are displaying. We may be wrong, but they'll correct us typically. And then once we do that, then we start to talk to them about the resources that we have. The resources that we have within the communities that we live in.
How do you do that when you arrive on the scene and somebody is running around the house naked or running down the street naked? How do you build that rapport? That's not a trick question because I've done it. I worked in maximum security for years. How do you get, and you recognize the symptoms, you recognize the issues that there's some mental illness going on.
Right. And another thing that we do, we tell the first responders that arrive, you're not there to diagnose, but you can recognize certainly that something is not right. And so really, we do the best we can do. If we can build that rapport and show the empathy so that they will get to a state where we can deal with them better one-on-one, then that's what we do. Now, the issue with them running around out in public, harming themselves or potentially harming somebody else as a last resort, then officers would probably have to take them into custody so that they could be dealt with. But we're trying to avoid that because really CIT is a jail diversion process. We don't want them to go to jail because when they go to jail, whether they're there for 24 hours, 24 days, or 24 months, when they come back out, they probably will still have the same issues that they had when they went in because the saying goes, you can't get well in a cell. And so if they go in with a mental illness, they probably will come out with the mental illness. Most of our facilities aren't able to fund positions for psychiatrists and psychologists. They may have therapists and counselors, but really these people need something ongoing throughout the rest of their life so that hopefully they'll never be in crisis again. And that's another one of our goals. One, keep them out of jail. Two, get them the help that they need so that they're never in crisis again.
Are the officers, I'm working you kind of hard here. We got 5 minutes before the first break. Good. Are the officers, I recall when mental health first integrated themselves with officers and they would go to the scene and they'd have their little badge. They'd have some indication that they had some type of training related to mental health. Does that still exist, that when they come through your training or do you still, do you have an officer or a mental health clinician come to the scene with units that are dealing with an active situation? I see the ambulance, they got to wait down the street now. And I just saw those guys putting on bulletproof vests the other night. They were down the street, probably waiting for clearance to go to a crisis. Where are your people? Do you have plainclothes people, just mental health professionals? And do you train officers to wear the little badge?
Okay, yeah, we do provide the officers, whether it's fire, EMS, or DPS, or whatever. We provide them with a pin that shows that they have completed the program. 40-hour program for law enforcement and corrections, 24 hours for fire and EMS, 16 hours for telecommunicators. And as long as their chief doesn't have a problem with them wearing the pin, then they wear the pin. We don't say they have to. We want them, when they arrive, to introduce themselves to the person that is in crisis or to someone who has called that they are a CIT officer. But we do not, when I say we, I say Trillium does not provide a mental health person to come to the scene. We, in our 28 counties, law enforcement and fire and EMS are told to work with Integrated Family Services. They have a mobile crisis unit. They operate in, I think, 30 counties, all 28 of ours. And then we also have RHA, who happens to be here. I'm down in New Bern right now holding a class.
Oh, wow. New Bern. What's up, New Bern?
I'm in New Bern. We have 6 officers from, 6 officers from New Bern Police Department, one from Emerald Isle Police Department, one telecommunicator from the police department here in New Bern, and then we actually have a PCDC detention officer that's here. And so she wanted to get the training in. She's just recently transferred from DPS, or made the change from DPS over to the detention center. And so she wanted to get this class in as quickly as she could. So she's traveling out here doing the class. But so they are given this information. RHA is here. Integrated Family Services was here yesterday. They are told what the first responders are told what they can do as mobile crisis responding and what they cannot do. And they provide them with the telephone numbers so that they can call. And both of these mobile crisis, if a first responder requests, they are coming. Okay. So they're going to be there. And as long as the scene is safe, they'll be there to talk to the person. And really, if everything's good, then the officers can clear up.
Glenn's got something to ask you. We got 1 minute before the break. When we come back from the break, I got a question I want to get your mind right about mass shooting in the state of mind. Do you teach anything about that? But I want you to hold that until we come back from the break. Glenn's got a couple of things.
No, I can actually wait till after the break.
Okay.
It's only going to take me a minute or two, but I just want to point this out to yourself and Mr. Lassiter. So I'll do it right after we come from the break, if you don't mind.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. We're getting work done. As you can see, we're talking about first responders responding to the scene. We're talking about they're trained to show empathy. We're talking about they're trained to identify if there's mental illness or that's influencing the crisis that they're in. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not so sure that all of our state of mind or our mental state of mind don't influence crime in the way that we respond. This is WBIS LP 106.9. We'll be right back after these.
As parents,
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Police Report First Responders, the show where we bridge the gap. We keep active communication going on all year long, where we are probably the most listened to radio show of Greenville Police Department because they just won Police Department of the Year. It's probably because of you and me, Glenn.
That's right.
I
That's
just
right.
can't get over. They need the Charity Award. But right now, we are up and coming. We got Mr. Muhammad. We're going to talk about cybersecurity. And how many of you guys know what a Trojan horse is? All right, time's up. Just get that in your head. We're going to take you to school shortly about cybersecurity. And if you haven't changed your password lately, you're probably going to be in trouble with Mr. Muhammad. But right now, we're going to lead off with Dr. Johnson, who is going to go back to the crisis intervention team part of the show with Mr. Brian Lassiter.
And I want to point something out to yourself and Mr. Lassiter, because you both have mentioned a time frame, 1980s, and you both spoke about mental health. So what I wanted to mention was back in the 80s when I was a security officer at Jersey Shore University Medical Center, before they became a University Medical Center, the hospital contained a mental health unit. So because of that, we got calls constantly, stat calls, to respond to the mental health unit because they will have somebody in an episode. So we had to go through crisis intervention, recognition, and prevention training as well. So I knew how important it was for us and back in the 80s. So I could just imagine how important it is for the police officers, first responders. And that's what I wanted to mention. Also, Mr. Lassiter, just to let you know, since you conducted a class, we're on this 10 minutes. After this 10 minutes, we'll have 20 more minutes. After that 20 minutes, the broadcast will conclude. So I just want to bring that to your attention since you're conducting a class.
All right.
Coach.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. If you want to stay for the cybersecurity part of the show, you can. I mean, hey, we're getting down into the business on how we respond and how the folks that are watching the show now, when they're driving by a scene, they see a lot of blue lights. They see them over at particularly oh, you raise your hand. We see him over at Glenn's house,
Yeah.
and we say, oh my God, are they over there got Glenn hogtied? Did they understand that he's got clinical issues?
Well,
Yeah, you put your hand up. So we want to know that our officers are well trained, but the modulating between enforcement, saving their lives and other people's lives. I asked a question before the break came because I want you to address the audience in any way you can. And I'm going to get you if you sugarcoat it. But the hard subject of dealing with mass shooters, we already know a profile, 18 to 25-year-old, usually Caucasian, usually been homegrown, radicalized in some way. How are you teaching the officers to, in any way, if possible, profile a mass shooting that's going on when they're coming up to a scene?
and before Mr. Lasser gives his response, I want to ask Mr. Lasser a question because this might be relative to what he's about to speak on.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I just mentioned. So our first responders are therefore also considered our first interveners, which is why this is so important. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct. Yeah, with we do not specifically throughout the training discuss mass shootings or anything like that.
Oh boy, come on now! Now everybody's having to rethink. Have we got enough training on that subject? Do we need to go back through training based on what happened in Texas? Are the officers, going to implement what they were trained? But I interrupted you, but I wanted to just rebut right there. I'm sorry.
Sure, I think that's outside the purview of what we do, really, and that's more the rapid deployment training. I was formerly an instructor in that when I was up with the Husky Police Department, and we did do rapid deployment training routinely, typically every year, and I know they still do because I keep in contact with the folks around there. They still do that at the schools there in Hertford County. Can't speak for other counties, but so what we want to address is potentially that person that does partake in a mass shooting or any shooting, really, if there's any contact that an officer has with them at any point, that they maybe recognize or hopefully recognize that maybe there is something going on and can address it then prior to the issue of a mass shooting. We want to be there ahead of time if we're given the opportunity. So we are preparing them for that potential opportunity ahead of time to maybe they're having an issue at the grocery store or at their home or just in their neighborhood. We want to address it there to get the resources in place so that they, one, maybe they need treatment, two, maybe they need medication, three, maybe they need both, but ultimately help provide them with resources and provide their support team, if there is one, moms, dads, brothers, sisters, other people in the community, with just some support for that person to make sure that they are taking their medication or going through the treatment that they need. So no, we don't address the rapid deployment to a mass shooting in the class. We're addressing really, one, we want people to know how to recognize mental illness, IDD issues, and substance abuse issues, and then be able to de-escalate someone in a position where they are in a crisis themselves, not creating a crisis, I guess.
And based upon what you just said, Mr. Lassiter, would that mean or imply that because of that, everybody on the scene might not be law enforcement that's armed with a weapon?
That's correct. Yeah. Sometimes, and I was on the street long enough to know that the call comes in from a caller reporting something, and then when you get there, it's something totally different. That's not every case, but a lot of times, that is the case. So sometimes it might be that someone calls for EMS because someone is acting in a certain way, and then it turns into really more of a law enforcement scene than an EMS scene. But in the meantime, if our EMS people are trained, and they're trained medically, but they also do get some mental health training, then they could better determine what the response would be from law enforcement.
That's like what Vernon, Coach Garrison, witnessed about a week or two ago, right? With the EMS arriving on the scene with the vest or something.
Right. Yeah, they were putting on the vest. Well, I would say the rapid deployment, I like that. That wasn't a sugar-coated answer. Those guys somehow they're getting some real good rates on disarming or having the shooter surrender. Whatever's happening in that time frame, not all of the mass shooters are getting shot.
No.
I think that the objective of rapid response might have a certain percentage of that, but it looks like to me it should be get there and take the shooter out and stop the threat. But somehow you're right, they're showing something because some of these mass shooters have laid down their arms and put their hands up and nothing's happened to them, and that's kind of made people mad too.
Right.
It's like, wait a minute now. The guy selling crack cocaine on the corner with a knife, he getting shot or got a mental health issue, and faculties aren't working well. He's getting shot, but the guy that just shot up everybody, he's surrendering, coming in getting a hot meal. So, anyways, but I do want now. Finally, we got 1 minute, but I do want you to tell us what you want to remember about the program, and if we have to take him to the next break, we will.
Okay.
Yep.
The main thing that I want the folks to remember, whatever community you're listening from, I would hope that there are some CIT trained first responders, whether it's police.
It's very important.
Police, fire, EMS. If not, then maybe you need to talk to the powers that be in your community. I will tell you that in our 28 counties, there's several in every county. I mean, some departments, their whole department is CIT certified.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lasser. Hold on 1 second.
Okay. It might be a caller for you.
Yeah, we have a caller calling through. Caller, you're live on the air on the Police Report Show.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to commend the radio station and to your guests.
Hold it. Caller, hold it. We're going to break. Hang on for 1 moment and we'll let you talk. This is WBIS LP 106.9.
Back in a moment.
Are you? WBISAwesomeRadio.org or contact us by phone 252-756-3137.
Okay, man, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're going to go out there and be an all-star caregiver. Cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You got to dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Show the world that you're tougher than tough. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Dr. Armistead from Physicians East Dermatology. You are listening to Awesome Radio 106.9.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We have a caller online. This is WBIS LP 106.9. First Responders Police Report. Caller, you're there.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good afternoon. Just wanted to commend, again, the show, the topic. It is definitely needed, and it needs to be made more aware that CIT is in existence. I am very grateful for Mr. Brian Lassiter that is sharing the information with our community, and I'm grateful that you guys have exposed this topic to the community. This is something for each and every individual. They don't necessarily have to be a person that is mentally ill, but a crisis could have come up. So I just want to commend you guys. And Mr. Lassiter, I actually know him personally. He's an awesome instructor. He's an awesome trained first responder, and I'm grateful that he was a part of the show today. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much. And I do recognize that voice, but I won't get into that on the air. I know you know him personally because, if I'm not mistaken, you also work together. So thank you for your support and all that you do as well.
All right, Mr. Brian, we appreciate you. You were giving us some of your final words about the program. I'd love to have you back, by the way, and dedicate a full hour because you already see I got a lot going on the mental health side, including my partnership with Dr. Johnson over there. I got to, oh boy, it's a tough job, but somebody got to do it. But you were talking about the things that you want us to highlight and lasting impressions from today's conversation with you.
Okay. Yeah. What I was saying was there are lots of CIT trained first responders out there. Typically, our first responder to a scene in a crisis situation is law enforcement. However, sometimes the fire or EMS may get there. But the one group in first responders that a lot of times get overlooked is our telecommunicators, our dispatchers. You know what? They are our first responders because they're the ones that answer the line. And so we train them to listen to people and to ask questions that may be beneficial to the responders that they're then going to dispatch to the scene. But I'm sorry?
You are popular. Excuse me for interrupting your presentation. You have a question from a Mr. Drew Simmons, and he's basically saying, what is the requirements for a CIT?
Well, to go through the CIT program, you have to be a first responder. So you have to be with a police, fire, or EMS, and the telecommunicators sometimes fall under a law enforcement agency, but sometimes they're standalone. So to take the CIT program, you have to be a first responder. And of course, when it comes down to fire and EMS, that could be even our volunteer fire and EMS. All of our law enforcement and DPS and detention and all that, they're paid folks, but it can be volunteer. So they can contact us and see if it's something that we could potentially do for them if they are a volunteer.
Thank you.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to share just one other brief thing with you and Coach Garrison. And that is how important it is and why it works so well. It's because when I went through the training, crisis intervention, recognition, and prevention, I'd learned a lot. And I took that knowledge with me. Even when I was off duty, I would be in public. For instance, I was at a courthouse one day handling a situation, and one of the gentlemen that was at the courthouse for an appearance, he was a mental patient, and he started going through this episode. So the training I had received, I helped the police actually at the courthouse to get him calmed down and straighten out the situation. So it does work. I just want to point that out.
Well, appreciate that, Dr. Johnson. Any final words, Mr. Lassiter?
Yeah, when I'm talking to citizens now of all over everywhere, when you call 911 because someone you love or someone you know or someone you see you believe is in a crisis, ask for a CIT officer. They will have a list in their jurisdiction of who is and who is not a CIT officer, and we want them to respond initially if at all possible. So like I was saying earlier, a lot of our areas, they shoot for the 20 to 25% of their department being certified. Some agencies go for 100%. Edenton Police Department up in Chowan County, they're at 100% right now. And so now they're a smaller department, but just ask for a CIT officer, give as much information as you can about the person. If you have any knowledge of what they may have been diagnosed with in the past and that type thing, and just relay all of that information to our first responders, our telecommunicator or dispatchers, so that the people that are responding have as much information as they can when they get there. It's always best to have the most information before you arrive, because you can start to formulate some type of game plan when they get there. And so once the first responders get there, they may still need you if you're available, but try not to get in the way, try not to interject too much, let them use their knowledge and do their thing, because they are getting trained.
Well, we appreciate you, sir. I can tell you you deserve your position because you're invested in it wholeheartedly, and we appreciate you and Trillium for your time, and I know the officers do as well. I can also tell you put a lot of bracelets on people, because when you see the reasoning is going out and it's time to go to that motel, I think you pretty much talk your way into, yeah, it's really time to go if I can't resolve the issue.
That's
Thank
right.
you once again, sir. We appreciate you.
All right. Take care.
All right. Have a
Thanks,
great day.
Mr. Lassiter. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll be in contact, Dr. Johnson.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
All righty. See y'all.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. We want to give recognition where recognition is due. We want to recognize the Greenville Police Department. The Greenville Police Department has received special recognition on Wednesday. Now, the GPD was named Law Enforcement Agency of the Year by the North Carolina Police Executive Association. Boy, Glenn over there doing hand signals. I can't read. Greenville Police Department Chief Mark Holtzman was among those in attendance of this acceptance award. I'm so proud of this guy. I really like him, man. He's like one of them nice, nasty guys, man. He's like not like a mafia boss or anything like that. Not that I know what one looks like. The award was received due to GPD's mobile crisis program that started 2 years ago with integrated family services. Police officers our mental health specialists co-respond to mental health related calls to deliver appropriate care for people in the Greenville community. Now, Greenville Police Department is the first agency in Eastern North Carolina to implement this kind of program, Holtzman said, and it's an honor to be recognized. Well, I will say this. That is a great thing, Chief Holtzman, and thank you. Wherever you're going. Footnote, did he go? Ladies and gentlemen, he has resigned. I think he's got a final date, or he's already gone. I guess maybe we should know that if we're going to talk about it. But that guy's pretty good. Do we know where he went at, or know what his plans are after he leaves?
I have no clue personally.
All right, Pink Panther, you're getting reprimanded on the air.
I'm on the case.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience on the show. If you're waiting for the cybersecurity tips today, we are about to start them, and we are ready to go. Mr. Hamid, would you introduce yourself, your first and last name, and introduce whatever you'd like to say about yourself. But thank you for joining the show today. We appreciate it. And cybersecurity, we just can't talk about it enough. Well, here we go, Mr. Muhammad. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Yeah, get on close on up to the mic there. You want to look at his face in the computer. He's looking at it. Wow, that's me. Yes, sir. All right. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And so you are a cybersecurity student, Pitt Community College. I don't know. Enlighten us, if you will, please, sir.
Well, I don't just study I also study computer programming and development at Pitt Community College. And I also got the associate's degree from it last year.
Okay.
Good. That's
Excellent.
good. I have a question for you right off the bat. So is that cybersecurity the same or similar to forensic, computer forensic?
In a way, it's similar in a way. You see, you get to learn things like scammers or how to protect yourself from anyone trying to steal your personal information. You see, like, you should always remember to change your password every up to 3 months. You see, the password is always your first line of defense, and you always have to create stronger passwords. You see, the stronger the password is, the harder it is for someone to steal your personal information or gain access to your personal devices.
Okay. Now, how now there's a lot of ways we create passwords today. Is there any particular way? I know the computer tells you to use a character here and a spec there. They usually give you an idea how they want you to create a password, but is there anything that you would suggest in creating a password?
Well, you should always not put your first name or your pet's name. You should try creating it. You should try create your password with like capital and lowercase letters, and add special characters, and always add a number to it as well.
I think another thing Eric's concern would be, like if you mention your password, like for instance, a security question, because a lot of people have this almost answer the same thing. One of their security questions might be, what's your mother's maiden name? Which is why I stopped using my mother's maiden name as a security question and a password, because I know a lot of people do that. And I don't know how many people know my mother's maiden name, but that's not my password on anything anymore, or a security question at the bank or what have you.
Let's talk about this. Is a big word that I don't quite. I get the way the word is sent. Social engineering. What's that term? And tell us a little bit about social engineering. Is it a positive word? I know social engineering might include, the artificial intelligence universe, the IT world, using our information to show us ads, to put products in our faces, to engineer the way we think, to engineer the way we purchase products online, the whole e-commerce world. But social engineering has a dark side, doesn't it, Muhammad?
Why, yes, it does. You see, it's a type of a manipulating technique where someone tries to steal your personal information by they try to make them sound they are trusted, or they try to make them sound they work in a company such as IT tech support, or maybe somewhere in a bank to help you. And they may try to help you, but instead you're actually helping them to steal your personal information.
So you mean how are they gathering this information? Is it like through email, or how are they setting up this information to take over our lives?
They may try to contact you through email or from your phone. So you might receive an unexpected chances.
Hey, can I just interject one thing?
Sure, help yourself.
Because I just saw this on the news recently, where an employee at a fast food restaurant got arrested because a customer was in the drive-thru. She placed her order, and when the driver handed the associate her credit card, she observed him taking pictures of the card with his cell phone, the top of the card and the back of the card, for the number and the 3-digit code on the back. And she went inside. They called the police, and they came, retrieved the phone with the manager, and they arrested him on the spot.
Wow. Muhammad, what are some examples of social engineering?
There are 3 things that I can tell you that I most likely notice. Free money offers, job position, that's one of them, and the other is job positioning that you never applied, and what they offer seems interesting, like how much they pay you, and they'll train you. And another thing is a person who tries to impersonate themselves as an IT tech support, or someone tried to impersonate themselves as someone who worked in a bank.
Man, them free money offers, Glenn, stop sending me emails saying, have I heard about the new program of donating you money? We get those things all the time. Don't anybody know that I've seen that? Well, so free money offers.
I want to ask you a question, though, since you mentioned that.
Sure.
When I'm on Messenger, I get to see them things all the time. And I'm thinking these are people that I know because they're friends on my Facebook. But I don't think they are. I think somebody infiltrated their user account and is sending those things, those offers about you qualify for such and such and such through whatever government funding program. Like, no.
Is that what you call a Trojan horse scenario, Muhammad, when somebody sneaks in under disguise?
Why, yes, it is.
Okay. Well, I would say anything else you want to chat with us about the social engineering aspect?
Well, I can tell you what I can tell you. Well, I can tell you what they can gain from social engineering. They can steal your social security or your bank card number.
Well, I will say this. On Sunday, my phone was ringing off the hook. I thought it was Glenn calling. I'm like, man, I ain't answering that phone.
I know, because you normally don't.
No, I'll be asleep. I can't see the number if my eyes closed. All right. But it kept ringing. It kept ringing. And finally I answered, and I was like, it ain't a telemarketer. It was the bank calling, saying that they had suspicious activity on my account. So I went through all of that, you know the routine, verified that I did not make the transaction. And when I finally got to the operator, she says, yes, Mr. Garrison, are you trying to buy $400 worth of equipment off of lacrosse.com? I'm like, what?
Yeah. I got one similar to that from Amazon. But I want to ask Mom at this.
But let me tell you how they said she thought they were getting the number. I know we run out of time. She thought, I said, how did they get the number? I haven't lost the card. She said through a number generating system. They generated all the numbers on my card, but they didn't get the expiration date right.
Yeah, exactly. My question to Muhammad, Mr. Muhammad, is this. I've been getting calls lately, somebody claiming to be from the Social Security Administration. I'm like, first of all, the Social Security Administration doesn't call anybody over the phone. So I don't know who you are, but the call is ending right now because you have a great day. Would that be some cybersecurity?
That's one way, and that's also another way of scammers.
Yeah, it's definitely a scam, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I figured so. I know the Social Security Administration won't call anybody.
Well, I will say this. I'm going to call you and say, I appreciate the research you've done for this show.
Yeah, let me ask you a question.
And I had a great time, and you got a question.
You sure when you said you were sleeping wasn't a code word for eating?
Oh, boy.
You probably had to play the food.
He has been cracking these jokes today that's been falling flat, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I just want to make everybody laugh. Be happy.
What I need you to do, we didn't get to the 911 call thing today, but I do want you to I've called 911 twice in the last 2.5 weeks because I have to in certain situations. When Glenn get out of the way, I just got to, no, not him. He ain't that bad. But when you call 911, have your address, have your phone numbers. Right now, you want to rehearse those things now so you can be able to feed the 911 call, 911 operator. Lastly, they ask you to do stuff now. I had a non-responsive person, and Glenn, you about to pull that. It's wrapped in your chair. I had a non-responsive person, and the 911 operator asked me to place the person in a certain position. So in other words, there are things you may need to do, life-saving circumstances that you may need to be able to follow instructions. I know you might be upset and things of that nature, but we promise to get to the 911 refresher course on our next show. We may have some more cybersecurity tips. And right now, we want to say thank you to the engineer here at the station for helping us get on. We'll say thank you to Johnson for his research. And I want to personally say thank you for helping Greenville Police Department respond because of our feedback, because we own that department.
And everything Coach Garrison just said, definitely if you're calling from a cell phone, you want to have an address available to give to the dispatcher.
We out of here. We love you guys. WBIS LP 106.9, Awesome Radio.